Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Um, Thank you for all your likes, your subscribes, your shares, newcomers, old timers. Love y'all. All right, today we're going to do a spirit message through Jack Kerouac's On the Road. Let me just refresh how many pages it is. Okay, so I know how many dice we're using. We will use 3. All right, spirit message you have, guidance through Jack Kerouac's On the Road could be a confirmation for the general collective at this time for whom it will resonate for, whenever the time is divine. Thank you. We have the number 12. We have the number 5. And we have the number 4. What I'm feeling here is actually to break it down. 1, 2, and 9. So 129 might be significant to you. All right. We've also got 3 and 9, along with 12, 5, and 4, 45, 54. Months we've got May, April, December. Okay, let's see, 129. For whomever this resonates for, you guys, in whichever way, whether it be confirmation or just something inspiration, it might give you an intuitive ping for something else, some sort of spiritual puzzle piece you might pick up. Okay. Number 5, section 5, chapter 5, Fives are change. I left everybody and went home to rest. My aunt said I was wasting my time hanging around with Dean and his gang. I knew that was wrong too. Life is life and kind is kind. What I wanted was to take one more magnificent trip to the West Coast and get back in time for the spring semester in school. And what a trip it turned out to be. I only went along for the ride and to see what else Dean was going to do. And finally, also knowing Dean would go back to Camille in Frisco, I wanted to have an affair with Mary Lou. We got ready to cross the groaning continent again. I drew my GI check and gave Dean $18 to mail to his wife. She was waiting for him to come home and she was broke. What was on Mary Lou's mind, I don't know. Ed Dunkel, as ever, just followed. There were long, funny days spent in Carlo's apartment before we left. He went around in his bathrobe and made semi-ironical speeches. Now, I'm not trying to take your hinkty sweets from you, but it seems to me the time has come to decide what you are and what you're going to do. Carlo was working as a typist in an office. I want to know what all this sitting around the house all day is intended to mean, what all this talk is, and what do you propose to do? Dean, why did you leave Camille and pick up Mary Lou? No answer. Giggles. Mary Lou, why are you traveling around the country like this? And what are your womanly intentions concerning the shroud? Same answer. Ed Tunkel, why did you abandon your new wife in Tucson? And what are you doing here sitting on your big fat ass? Where's your home? Where's your job? Ed Dunkel bowed his head in genuine befuddlement. Sal, how comes you've fallen on such sloppy days? And what have you done with Lucille? He adjusted his bathrobe and sat facing us all. The days of wrath are yet to come. The balloon won't sustain you much any longer. And not only that, but it's an abstract balloon. You'll go flying to the West Coast and come staggering back in search of your stone. In these days, Carlo had developed a tone of voice which he hoped sounded like what he called the voice of rock. The whole idea was to stun people into the realization of the rock. You pin a dragon to your hats, he warned us. You're up in the attic with the bats. His mad eyes glittered at us. Since the Dakar doldrums, he had gone through a terrible period which he called the Holy Doldrums, or Harlan Doldrums, when he lived in Harlem in midsummer, and at night woke up in his lonely room and heard the great machine descending from the sky. And when he walked on 125th Street under water, quote unquote, with all the other fish, It was a riot of radiant ideas that had come to enlighten his brain. He made Mary Lou sit on his lap and commanded her to subside. He told Dean, "Why don't you just sit down and relax? Why do you jump around so much?" Dean ran around, putting sugar in his coffee and saying, "Yes, yes, yes." At night, Ed Dunkel slept on the floor on cushions. Dean and Mary Lou pushed Carlo out of bed, and Carlo sat up in the kitchen over his kidney stew, mumbling the predictions of the rock. I came in daze and watched everything. Ed Dunkel said to me, "Last night I walked clear down to Times Square, and just as I arrived, I suddenly realized I was a ghost. It was my ghost walking on the sidewalk." He said these things to me without any comment, nodding his head emphatically. 10 hours later, in the midst of someone else's conversation, Ed said, "Yep, it was my ghost walking on the sidewalk." Suddenly, Dean leaned to me earnestly and said, "Sal, I have something to ask of you. Very important to me. I wonder how you'll take it. We're buddies, aren't we?" "Sure are, Dean." He almost blushed. Finally, he came out with it. He wanted me to work Mary Lou. I didn't ask him why, because I knew he wanted to see what Mary Lou was like with another man. We were sitting in Ritzy's bar when he proposed the idea. We spent an hour walking Times Square looking for Hassel. Ritzy's bar is the hoodlum bar of the streets around Times Square. It changes names every year. You walk in there and you don't see a single girl, even in the booths. Just a great mob of young men dressed in all varieties of hoodlum cloth, from red shirts to zoot suits. It also is the hustlers' bar, the boys who make a living among the sad old gays of the 8th Avenue night. Dean walked in there with his eyes slitted to see every single face. Sullen guys with guns, shift-packing seamen, thin, non-committal junkies, and an occasional well-dressed middle-aged detective, posing as a bookie and hanging around half for interest and half for duty. It was the typical place for Dean to put down his request. All kinds of evil plans are hatched in the Ritzy's bar. You can sense it in the air, and all kinds of mad sexual routines are initiated to go with them. The safecracker proposes not only a certain loft on 14th Street to the hoodlum, but that they slept together. Kinsey spent a lot of time in Ritzy's bar, interviewing some of the boys. I was there the night his assistant came in 1945. Hassel and Carlo were interviewed. Dean and I drove back to the pad and found Mary Lou in bed. Dunkel was roaming his ghost around New York. Dean told her what we had decided. She said she was pleased. I wasn't so sure myself. I had to prove that I'd go through with it. The bed had been the deathbed of a big man and sagged in the middle. Mary Lou lay there, with Dean and myself on each side of her, poised on the upjutting mattress ends, not knowing what to say. I said, "Aw, hell, I can't do this." There you go, guys. Have a good one.